is a world-renowned neuroscientist who argues that we could all rewire our brains and become winners. His book is called The Winner's Bible, and he's worked with the New Zealand All Blacks and 4 Formula One teams. He's a native of New Zealand, and we're very pleased to welcome him to the UK, home of the plucky loser. Is that it? It's not the weather, it's all down to attitude that we don't win so often.
Well, I think attitude has a huge part, and the Kiwi psyche is slightly different to the English psyche, and I think it's a small part, it's not the whole thing. There's a lot more complications to being a world champion than just wanting to win.
Now, you've got a brain there, a plastic brain, is that right?
Well, I have actually. I wasn't sure whether we were going to use this little fellow.
I just saw it there in your lap, I couldn't resist. Tell us, how does this relate to winning?
Well, I think the important part is that most people think of the brain as just one big computer, and you can just see it looks like a big computer there.
Yeah. You turn it actually half a brain.
It's half a brain, and it's actually bigger than normal, so it's we'd call it a New Zealand brain, slightly enlarged. So you open it up and you see it's actually full of lots of different modules, and the key to being a champion is to have all these modules pulling in the right direction. And unfortunately, some of these modules, these primitive modules, pull you in the wrong direction. And so you can get athletes who are highly trained to do certain things, but other parts of their life are a complete shambles. And for me, a winner isn't just a champion. So Mike Tyson was a champion, but I would say he wasn't a winner in life.
Because of his other mistakes.
The rest of the other things going on in life. And often, you know, they'll have a certain part of their brain which really makes them very good at a particular sport, other parts are wrong. And so in my book, what I try to do, in fact what I do with all my elite athletes, is try to build a big platform for them so the whole of their life is correct. And that actually helps them better in their real life performance.
I knew somebody who had a son who was on a training scheme for football, and I said, is he going to make it to the Premiership? And he said, no, he's too nice. Is that actually true, that you've got to be pretty self-absorbed and pretty aggressive to get to the top in sport?
I think in modern sport it's incredibly professional, and I think the average armchair viewer doesn't realise how tough sport has become at the top level. I think even 10 years ago, what it took to be a champion is very different now. You have to have this incredibly narrow focus, incredible discipline, which is very different to what the average person thinks. Wanting it is not enough.
So in your book, sorry Adam, where you talk about the difference between optimism and unshakable belief. Is that the sort of thing you're talking about there?
That's one of the things, yes. There's many, I mean, a champion has so many tools at their disposal. And I think this is where a lot of self-help books get it so wrong. They just say, just believe and you'll win. Well, that's not good enough, you know. I'm never going to be heavyweight champion of the world, no matter how much I believe. I don't have the physical prowess.
You need to be scientific.
You need to be scientific. You need to have.
You've got to do the work, the training.
You've got to do the work, the training. You have to understand all the techniques. There's so much involved.
And have the physique.
And have the physique. But there's so much more to being a champion. And as you say, an unshakable belief is very, very different to just optimism. And you know, some of the great champions of the world have this unshakable belief. If I take someone like Muhammad Ali, you know, he would be on the ropes, having the stuffing knocked out of him by George Foreman, who was the heaviest puncher out. He was seeing bats playing trumpets because he was hallucinating, and he was, you know, everything was going wrong. He had this plan that he was going to be quicker and faster. Plan wasn't working, and yet he still got up after the first round and said, I'm going to win. Now, you and I, having been beaten to death by George Foreman, plan A gone wrong, we would not have got up off that seat.
And does, with that sense of entitlement, go, you know, a sort of a feeling? I mean, one thinks of Tiger Woods, for example. I mean, it struck me that sort of behaviour of being a billionaire sportsman and having lots of women wasn't altogether very surprising.
No, it's not surprising, and I think I've dealt with a lot of absolute world champions. They will go up this path of being trained very, very well in aspects of their sport, and because their whole personality is measured by their success on the field, people forget to develop the rest of them. And you know, whether I'm dealing with an All Black or various other people, what's really important is to give them a solid platform to deal with life, because ultimately that's what's going to make them successful in their sporting endeavour. And coaches are unfortunately often too narrowly focused on the ability to kick, punch, throw, whatever they do. And it really has a problem in this modern society where sport is so incredibly pressured. Not surprising Tiger had those issues.
What about the Togo footballers who are there in Africa, still uncertainty about whether they're going to take part. Is there any possibility that they can perform to a level that makes it worth them playing after what's happened to them?
It is possible, yes, and people respond to tragedy in very different ways. My issue would be every person is an individual, and each person develops in a tragedy in their own way. And what's really important is to look after the well-being of these players. Yes, some people can absolutely bounce back. Other people will be completely fragile. And again, if you have a solid platform in your life, life is tough. Bad things happen to good people. And unless you're prepared for that, unless you have this bigger philosophy, there will be players who won't cope.
And to return to where Adam started with the nation of plucky losers, Paul Hayward in the Observer this morning in his well-respected column, making the point that we were all jumping up and down when England yet again got away with a draw in South Africa in the test for the second time in the series, third time in 8 months. We thought it was fantastic. He says we should be thinking about winning rather than being pleased with not losing.
Well, I was actually watching that match, and I was absolutely quite shocked, being a Kiwi, at the response of everyone in the room, because I'm absolutely sure if the All Blacks were heading for a draw, it would be disaster for us as a psyche, as our nation.
Oh yeah, look at the Olympics, we're getting better, aren't we?
Yes, you are. I mean, I have to say, England is approaching the 2012 in a very scientific fashion, with some really good hard work, and I expect quite good things. But I am still worried about this general psyche in the whole population, that you will accept second best.
Right, OK, we'll try not to. Thank you very much indeed.
My pleasure.
Dr. Spackman. Well,